I have this new candle and I'm trying to, it's called Hello Sunshine, but I'm not sure what the scent is.
I like the name.
Yeah. Got it from
Is it
Mother's Day.
citrusy?
I love candles. There's something about the scent and having the candles lit the house.
I have this new candle and I'm trying to, it's called Hello Sunshine.
Let's do this. All right. It's the only thing with when you go onto YouTube, it starts playing.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get started. I wanted to thank Christine for coming, and today we're going to talk a little bit about talking kind to ourselves and the way we talk to ourselves. Christine's a speaker. She's working on becoming a speaker with Les Brown. If you know who he is, he's a motivational speaker. He's been around for years and years. And well, one of the things I was thinking about today, I was driving past Lordship School, and there's a sign, a thing outside, and it says "Spread Kindness." And I had been listening to Wayne Dyer not that long ago, and he was saying, you know, we can't give what we don't have. You know, if you wanted potatoes and I wanted to give you potatoes, I can't give them to you if I don't have them. We want people to give kindness or be kind if they don't have it inside of them, if they're not talking kind to themselves. It may be really difficult for them or for us to be kind to others if we're not kind to ourselves. And sometimes, you know, that voice inside of us is really mean to us, says really mean, nasty things to ourselves. And so, you know, we really should need to work on developing a voice inside of us. That's our best friend. It's our biggest cheerleader that eggs us on. So I don't know, that's just my little tidbit for today. But I want to thank Christine for coming. And oh, and another thing, I just created a 30-day challenge that we're going to be doing for the month of June. If anyone is interested, there should be a link in the emails that I sent you. If not, I'll be sending some more information about it soon. But that's something that I'm gonna work on, and something that I need to continue working on is getting myself back in the groove of taking care of me, and really working on losing some more weight and feeling better about myself. So thank you for Christine for coming. And if you want to get started, we'll
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me here. I feel blessed to be here. So what I would like to add to what you just said, you know, hurting people do hurt. And then, you know, they you know, you say, oh, that person's really mean, but you got to wonder what's going on the inside that they feel that way. The other thing is, and I don't know, speaking as a woman, I don't know about men, but I'm sure it's some of this too. It's so easy sometimes to be kind to other people, but not ourselves. So, you know, we can be kind to our family, our friends, we could be kind to a stranger, but then it's those things we say to ourselves that aren't so kind. And, you know, that is actually a challenge. So I just want to share a little story, you know, because one of the things I always had worked on was to be kind to others. And I didn't realize that my self-talk, how negative and mean I was being to myself. So I was, a few years ago, I was doing this, I don't even know what it was. It was something to do with marketing, and we were going into a private group and uploading, or going live actually, to speak about different things. And I had this revelation that I was stuck, and this whole program was like to get you unstuck in your business and move you forward. And I couldn't understand why I was so stuck. And I'm like, I know what to do. I know how to do it, but I'm not doing the things I need to do. Why is that? And what I discovered as I was doing this course to try and move forward, because I was on these little stepping stones and these paths to take me in a direction I wanted to go. But I felt like, here's the way, I've got a gear, it's turning this way, and this is the way it needs to go. But I didn't realize I had this other gear here and it was turning the opposite way. So what happens when the two gears are trying to push? They're not turning. This one's not going to turn if that's the way you want it to go, because the other one's pushing it to go the other way. And that's what was happening. And what I discovered, it was really, really like peeling that onion layer back. And I realized that I didn't value myself. So I was taking and undervaluing myself, and I didn't even realize it. And that all ties to, whether we like it or not, how in our heads things are. So we're like computers. We put things in, and what we put in is what comes out. So what I had been putting in from my early years was this negative devaluation, low self-esteem from it is what was coming out. And I had worked on that to bring it up. And my husband for years would say all these good things about me, but in my head, I'd be like, yeah, right. In my head, I'd be saying, I don't know, like, why does he say these things? Like, he's just saying these things. But then I discovered, well, he really does mean it. And I'm just like, okay, he's got these rose-colored glasses on. Like, I don't know why he sees this way, but okay. And in my head, I still did that self-talk, like put myself down. So here I was at 50, discovering what I was telling myself was I wasn't valuable enough. I didn't have value to put out there. Who would want to listen to me? Who would want whatever it is I had to offer? I'm just a nobody. So now I'm working on reprogramming my brain, and I've discovered some really great information on how we can self-talk to ourselves, not only, to get the things we want in life, change our lives. And it's so incredible. I'm absolutely loving discoveries. And, it takes me back a few years ago. Like, I have read so many books, like you talked about Dr. Wayne Dyer. I've read his books. I had a CD set. I listened literally to every single day for months. But why is it the stuff I was listening to just wasn't working for me? And it goes back to that gear and what I was telling myself. We can say, okay, believe in yourself, overcome obstacles, overcome your fear. But if in your head you're really saying, I can't do that, like, even though you want to, you may not do what you need to do, which is where I was finding myself struggling. So with this, I want to actually read a little tiny piece here, just to show you how programming works. So this is a book. It's What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. And here's how he describes how we program ourselves. So that programming and what it does creates our beliefs. And then those beliefs create our attitudes. And then our attitudes create the feelings we have. And those feelings determine our actions. And then our actions determine the results. Now, let me give you another story. I was a single mom, and I met my husband, and I had gone through to become a social worker. The year I graduated, there was cutbacks in that field. and there was hiring freezes across the board. The government was looking for ways to save money. So that's what happened. And I was kind of in another stuck spot. I'm like, but I just did all this schooling. What am I going to do? And I had to put a lot of thought into what I was going to do. It was like, carry on to a higher education. So, you know, because those were the people getting the jobs, not the ones with the college diplomas. You know, then I was looking at, you know, the cost of going to school, having my current debt and creating more debt. And one day I went on, because I thought about being a teacher. I went on the way back when the internet was fresh. It's like, what were the statistics for teachers, you know, job wise in 5 years, because it would take 4 years to go to university and do that. And what I discovered when I did that, you know, I said the jobs were probably pretty good, that there was a good chance I'd be able to have a job, but I was a little bit afraid. I thought, I don't want to go to school and have even more debt and you know, then what if I can't find a job? And actually, it's really lucky I thought the way I did, because there people had that at that time, they did go to university, and around the time I should have graduated, if I hadn't went, were struggling to find jobs. So it was kind of a good thing I discovered something else at this time. And what I discovered was the trades. The trades were, they were saying the trades were in high demand, that there would be jobs in the trades in 5 years, because the people that were in the trades were going to be retiring and they were going to need to replace them. So I decided, since my dad was an electrician, that maybe that's what I would do. It paid well, it had benefits, it had a pension, everything I wanted. And I thought to myself, all right, this is what I should do. And before I told my dad, because he was a union electrician, so before I told my dad that I was going to do this, I said to myself, I did that self-talk, and I didn't even realize what I was doing at the time, but I said to myself, okay, this is what you're going to do. You're going to like it because you have to. You have to do this because you had 3 young children. I didn't think it was fair that, you know, my husband worked and I didn't help. And I wanted a better life for my children. So I told my dad, this is what I'm going to do. And he was tickled pink. You know, daddy's little girl is going to be an electrician just like him. So then I got into the union. I started out, and sorry about the phone. Anyway, so, you know, I started out, I had no idea what I was really getting into. You know, I believe it's maybe 3% of women become electricians. You know, there was obstacles and struggles to do that. But ultimately, here I am almost 20 years later, and I still love what I do. So our self-talk and that story of what I started out to do and my thinking behind it is the ultimate what he talks about in this book. So let's go back to programming. I programmed and created my belief that I would do it, that I could do it, and I was going to do it, and I was going to like it. Then I took that belief and attitude, and it created that feeling within inside me, because our attitudes create those feelings. And I had that feeling of feeling good about what I was going to do, that it would give me everything that I wanted. Then I took those feelings, and that determined my actions. And I'll tell you, there were some days going to trade school, because we have to go 3 times, 3 short little times. You work, you go to school, you work, you go to school, you work, you go to school, you work, you get your electrical license. Now I hate writing exams. I got to stop telling myself that. But, you know, I had to go write this exam, and that was a struggle too. You know, being with all these men, sometimes it wasn't so much fun. There was, you know, a few times where they point blank, a couple of guys just didn't want me there because I was a woman. But I didn't care, because this is what I wanted to do, and I knew I was going to do it. So those feelings determined my actions. I had the feeling I needed to do something for my children, something more. And that created the action for me to go do this to become an electrician to achieve what I wanted to achieve. I hope that is helpful to some. Sally, I don't know if you want to step in and ask me a few questions, or if you'd like me to carry on.
Sure. Yeah, I'm loving all this. And I think that, we don't know how to change a lot of times. We want to, but we just don't know how. And I think a lot of it, well, from what I found, because this whole past year, I went through a total transformation, total change. And the things that I learned, it all comes down to your habits and your routines, and changing, and sometimes just changing a little tiny thing, it makes a big difference later on. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
It definitely is. And this is one actually I'm going to work on. I was thinking about challenges actually today, and how I could do a challenge to help people change their thinking, change their programming by talking to themselves. And I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll do a short challenge on just talking to themselves. And so I'm going to create, I think, something like that. I'm always doing things. I always have these things I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So I was thinking about it today, and I'm like, this is something I think that, I'll say motivational speakers, books, CDs sometimes kind of miss this one little, and to me, it's that missing piece of the puzzle, that self-talk. And there is, when you start to elevate, there's different levels of self-talk. So once you start elevating through the self-talks and the levels, and you get to that highest one, that's where affirmations come in. And but some people find it very difficult to do those. So level one is that negative self-talk. It's like, I can't, I don't, whatever, and they just can't, I can't, or whatever else is in there. I'll tell you, one of the things I used to tell myself was I was stupid, and I believed it.
Yeah, right.
And that was the thing. So I went to college because I thought I was too dumb to go to university. And then I decided, well, I'm going to test the water on university. So I went and took one class, Intro to Law, because I thought about being a lawyer as well. And I passed that class, and I had the actual professor come up to me and say to me, you had some really good things that you were talking about in this class today. I really admire, the way you think. And all of a sudden, my thinking started changing about how I thought about myself. I was like, you're not really that stupid, because I had passed college and I had written an essay in one of the classes, and the teacher from there had said to me, wow, like he says, very seldom do I learn something from an essay from a student. And he had been doing it 20-25 years. He says, but I actually learned something from this essay you wrote, and it was well written. So that started me on this path, going to college and continuing to change that thinking about being stupid. And if I had thought I was stupid, I don't think I would have went and did become an electrician. Smart to get through that. Yeah, I think I went off somewhere. Woo. I'll let you ask another question or redirect me.
Well, in the being able to talk yourself into things, or talk yourself out of things that are no good for you, and talking yourself into things, that takes a special training or practice doing that.
Practice.
And just and I'll tell you guys a story. Just recently, I was asked to speak at a summit, and I had no, I speak here, and I've spoken in church. I got up and given sermons and led worship at our church, but I had never done some kind of a summit before. So as I had it all written, I knew what I wanted to say. I was all set. And when it came time to record it, I started freaking out. And I was like, I can't do this. Who's going to listen? And it's all that negative self-talk. Who's going to listen to me? They don't know me. They're not going to even come. It's why even do this? I'm just going to call and cancel. And I was about to just go in and just type up an email and say, you know what? Thank you for thinking of me, but I can't do this. And I really had to talk myself back into it. And it was like, that all this jabber in my head going back and forth, and you can do it. Come on, just put your mind to it. You've done stuff like this before. You always come out. And it's just that practicing doing that is hard. But it's something, if you want to go from one level to the next, that's something you need to master. You got to master your self-talk.
Yeah.
And I think,
and I was really lucky. My mother taught me at a young age. She said, you can do whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. And that's where the belief that I could do things came from. So, that's that programming, right?
Yeah. Working with men in the,
it's fun.
Yeah. Now I grew up with all brothers, and my first job, I worked in a machine shop with all men I was 18 years old. I got a job in a machine shop, and I was in the middle of the machine shop.
Nice.
Working with, 500 guys. And there was maybe only 3 other women who were like in the machine shop, that were in the area that I was in. So yeah, that was a growing up experience right there. But
things are changing.
Yeah. And men dealing with men is a lot different, especially in the workplace. I think we were talking about this, that women in the workplace, I think, are more catty, more.
Oh yes, definitely.
Because I think, you're all going for the same jobs or the same position. There's like one job and everybody's vying for that, or whatever it is. But when you're in a business or an office atmosphere, the women can be awfully mean at times. Not all of them. I've met some awesome women, but for the most part, a lot of them are. And I noticed a difference being an entrepreneur, being in my own business, and meeting women who are business owners. They're totally different. I think they realize that there's an abundance out there of stuff, and you're not stepping on their toes. You can come up with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's all about the mindset. So,
yeah, for sure.
And I think guys have had that figured out for years. But I don't know.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's hard to say, what the male perspective is, but yeah, like they kind of know. Yeah, I guess you're right. It's probably there's room, but I don't know. I see stuff going on with the men too. So, I don't know. It's a funny little world we live in. But I do have fun working with some of the men. There was only a couple of times really, like I said, that it was challenging and upsetting, just knowing, like, well, being verbally told that I shouldn't be on the job basically because I was a woman,
Right.
And overcoming that, and but I think the programming in me was, don't you dare tell me what I can and can't do, because as soon as you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it.
Right. That's me too.
So yeah, it just would make me, and it would make me dig my heels in. Like, you think you're going to get rid of me that easy? Oh no, no, you're not. And I'll tell you, the first job I was on, I knew something was up. And the guys, it was actually, looking back, it's pretty funny. They didn't know how to take me because I was a woman. And one guy finally I said to him, I worked with him a lot, and I said, what is up? Like, I can tell just the atmosphere here. It's like something is strange going on. I said, like, and I don't know what it is. And they're like, and he says, well, they've never worked with a woman before. They don't know how to talk to you. And I said, I'm a person, just talk to me like normal, you know. And then my personality, you know, it's like make things light. And it, you know, it took some time. I worked with them all for about a year. And yeah, it took some time, a few months, and you know, they all start to lighten up. They realize, like, I think they were more worried that they would say something wrong, and I'd say harassment.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing now. I mean, when I was in years ago, that wasn't a thing. I mean, I probably would was harassed more than anybody, but yeah, it's today, in today's world, it's crazy. So.
Yeah, and there's things like, you know, that would have been harassment that they can't say or whatever, and they know it, right? And it's like they got to be kind of like, you know, that I guess they never had to, you know, really watch themselves around the other guys, because they would, one guy say something they didn't like, the other guy would just tell them, you know, certain words, where to go.
Right.
You know, and that's just the way it was. But then, you know, being a woman, it's like, okay, if I say that, and, you know, what is she gonna do if she doesn't like it? She's gonna go tell on me.
Yeah. So
anyways, yeah. So I know one of the things that I wanted to mention is when we're talking to ourselves, we have to be very careful, even with I think I can do it, because when you finish that sentence, really it's still programming our brains in the negative way, because it's, I think I can, but I really don't think I do. I think I can, but I'm not gonna, because whatever. So those ones are very, they're that tricky one where we think we're talking positive, but we're not. So then that we do need to go to the next level up, just plain straight out say, I can. And I was talking to you, Sally, I think it was you, about the smoking. Was I talking to you about the smoking example?
I think
I can't remember. Anyways, so I'll just explain it for the ladies watching here. So the smoking example that was in that book that Shad Helmsetter talks about is, if you are smoking and you don't want to smoke, and every time you went and you had a cigarette, you said, I don't smoke, I am healthy. And you say it out loud. And if somebody was standing there and they said, like, Christine, you're lighting up a cigarette and you're saying, this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter, because the brain doesn't know the difference. So if you keep telling your brain, I don't smoke, I am healthy, eventually the brain's going to kick in, and that's those gears, the smoking and your brain going, you don't smoke. And then all of a sudden one day you're just going to throw the cigarettes away and go, I don't smoke. So I thought that was really interesting, because there's another book, Affirmations. I know a lot of time it's called Affirmations, but Affirmations by Noah St. John. And he puts them in the form of questions. And when I discovered the Affirmations, it's like, why am I able to be such a great speaker on stage? Well, that would be the affirmation, instead of saying I am a great speaker on stage, because that belief, that programming in my brain says, wait a minute, Christine, you're not a speaker on stage. So then it really wouldn't work. So the affirmations, putting it into a question and putting it into a question that sounds believable makes a difference as well. So if I say, okay, why am I such a great speaker? Well, my brain automatically can kick in and say, because Christine, you love to talk. Because Christine, you've read all these books, you know this information. It can come up with all these positive things. It doesn't actually come up with the negative things unless we have the negative programming. So if you start hearing, you start going, okay, Christine, why am I such a great speaker? And I hear, why are you saying that? You're not even a great speaker. I know right there. Okay, my program, something's wrong with my programming. I need to reprogram what's in my brain to tell me, to get in that direction I want to go. So I could rephrase, and I could say, okay, I love to speak. So why do I love to speak? Because I have this knowledge. I could just rephrase it in a way and then take the little baby steps I need. Okay, so I'm doing something different, and then I'm taking this step. I'm on Sally's thing on YouTube, and I mean, okay, well, I'm on Sally's YouTube. That's pretty awesome. Now I'm a speaker. So my brain will believe I'm a speaker.
One of the things that years ago, I took the Tony Robbins Personal Power, and he did a whole thing on asking better questions. So that's what that reminded me of. And actually I have the list on the mirror in my bedroom, and it says, who do I love? Who loves me? What do I value most? So it's, asking the same way you said, asking questions that are going to give you a positive outcome, as opposed to saying, why does this always happen to me? Or what's going on here? So questions are really important too, and phrasing them correctly is important. Another word, you were saying is trying. And that's one of the things. I'm a Forbes Riley student, and one of the things that she hates is when people say trying. And if you say, I'm trying to do something in front of her, she makes you give $10 to her daughter's charity.
And that actually is the second one that, we don't even realize we do it sometimes, right? So that's the second one. And this part of the challenge that I want to do is write down some of these, okay, today. So these are some of the things I actually said to myself, and then be able to examine, okay, I said I'm going to try to do this. Oh, and then within the challenge, have the ability to, I don't know, I haven't figured this out yet, but maybe they post a video. Here's the things that I said to myself today. I'm not sure what to replace this with. And then people can post on it or something. I don't know. I'm working on it.
But one of the things, I think it was, I don't know if it was a video or something I watched years ago that stuck with me. And they said, close your eyes and put your hands in front of your face and try to make, pretend there's a wall in front of you and try to push the wall down, and keep trying and try to push the wall down. And you're standing there and you're going like this and you're trying. And then they say, okay, push the wall down, and boom, you do it. You're trying, nothing's happening. When you try to do something, you're not doing it. It's only when
that's those gear things, right?
Yeah, right.
There was actually a study, now that you reminded me of this, there was actually a study. What they did was they took a weightlifter and they blindfolded him, and they said, okay, you're going to lift this weight. And, it was a weight that he could lift. And I don't know, like, let's just say 150 pounds. There's a mosquito. Anyways, so 150 pounds. So then he lifted it and no problem. Then they told him they were going to change the weights. And they had these like electrodes all over him to monitor what's going on and everything. And what they did is they said, now lift it. We made it, and they made it a weight. They said a weight that he couldn't lift. So let's just say it was 400 pounds. They said, okay, you can't lift. And they knew he couldn't lift 400 pounds. But okay, we're going to change this to 400 pounds. And they didn't change the weights at all. So he goes to lift it, and he couldn't lift it. And what they discovered was the muscles. So when you're, let's see if I can turn this way. So when you're lifting the weight, this muscle here was working against this muscle here. So he couldn't lift the weight. So it's amazing what the brain will do. That's that gear again, one turning one way. It's like the brain saying you can't. So it's okay, I can't. Like, and he literally could not lift those weights. And then they said, okay. And then they put, okay, his maximum weight, maybe it was 250 pounds. They put 300 pounds on, and they told him, okay, we did change these weights, and we're, it's still like 200 pounds. We know you've done 200 pounds. So let's see you do this 200 pounds. Meanwhile, it's 250, and he's never lifted that weight before. And he picks it up and lifts it just like it's 200 pounds. So the brain is such an amazing thing. I love it when it comes to what the brain does. It's so interesting. Then we've got so many, I think it's 3 or 4 million, billion, whatever the number was, this amazing amount of neurons that are working when we want to do something. And then there's like less when it comes to the negative. I have to get that book. I'll have to reread that one. It's The Ant and the Elephant. They talk about that in the beginning. And it was years ago that I read that one. And I'm like, it's so amazing. Like just the neuron network and all the stuff the brain does is just fascinating.
I love learning about the brain. I've read a couple of Daniel Amen's books, and he's the brain guy. In fact, I went to one just a couple of weeks ago. I did an online seminar with him, and it was all about brain health and the whole brain, and I was just fascinated by it. But it's pretty interesting. In fact, he's doing a thing where he's got like a course for speakers and people to come in, and he's coaching them on how to talk to people about rewiring their brain. And he teaches you how to do it so you can go out there and do it.
Nice.
Yeah, but it was a little bit over my pocketbook to take the class. So I was like, no, that's okay right now. I got enough stuff going on, but it is very interesting.
Well, Shad Helmstetter, he says that the journey does begin in the brain, and the maze of possible solutions that we learn to manage, direct, and control those resources. And that's the greatest challenge we will ever face. So getting past that programming and doing what we need to do to move forward and whatever it is. I think you and I talked about the weight loss too. We talked about that. Yeah. And I said, I actually gave you the example for myself. I was like, I know what to do. I know how to do it. I've lost weight before. I lost 40 pounds because I was sick and tired of this. I went to LA weight loss just because I kept seeing this place every time I drove by to go to work. And one day I went in and I said, that's it. I don't care what they're offering. I don't care what they're doing. I'm going to do it because I need to lose a weight. I hated the way I felt. And when I talked to the girl there, I started crying. I'm like, I feel like a fat marshmallow. Anyways, so, I did their program, which was really great. It was how to eat healthier and everything I needed to do. Instead of these programs buying all the food and stuff, it was actually good for me to learn. And I went in and I did it. And again, it was just that mindset of I'm doing what I need to do. And she said to me when I went afterwards, she said, don't worry, we can help you. And I'm like, okay, good. And I said, and don't worry, once I start this, within 2 weeks, I'm going to start going to the gym. She's like, you don't even need to go to the gym to lose this weight. I'm like, yes, but I know myself. And if I'm going to eat healthy, because I love all the junk stuff. But if I'm going to eat healthy, I need to go to the gym, because when I go to the gym, I just crave the things I should eat. I crave the apples and vegetables, and
Right.
like whatever. So anyways, and that's what I did. So knowing yourself is also pretty important.
Yeah. I mean, besides the eating healthier, one of the other habits or things that I did was I started taking courses and classes and learning new things. I mean, that was a big, I mean, I don't think I've learned, I mean, besides reading a couple of books, but really sat down to learn something in years. And you know, we forget that whole study habit and learning new things. And I mean, I took some like marketing classes and, you know, accounting, knowing how to do your books for your business and all. I mean, all these things that I was like, you know, I'm just going to go back and do these classes. I signed up for these online college classes, and it's been, you know, it's been amazing. But I think that, you know, our brain and getting that going again was key to me losing the weight too. Because I, you know, it got everything got into action at the same time. So I love that.
Yeah, you must have knew you needed to do that. And did you learn about portions and stuff like that as well?
Yeah, well, my daughter and I, we did the Weight Watchers.
Okay.
We were doing that. I mean, it was all online because it was during COVID, so we couldn't go out anywhere. And then we were walking, you know, we're still walking 2 to 3 miles a day. But it was portions, and it was, you know, when you're hungry, instead of grabbing, you know, chips or something, we would grab an apple, or, you know, making sure we always had fruits, fresh fruit in the house. So
Yeah, I wouldn't even walk down any of the aisles that had junk in it when I was eating
and learning how
healthy.
to shop, and shopping better.
Yeah.
You know, I did all the grocery shopping, so I just stayed away from those. Like you said, you just don't even go down that soda aisle or the candy aisle. I don't even walk down there. And
it got to the point that it didn't bother me, but it definitely, when I first started, it's like really hard not to go down those aisles. Like you'd walk past and you're like, oh, but after a while it was like, hey, I feel good. You know, as you start losing the weight, right? I feel good. I'm so glad I'm not going down that aisle.
Yeah. And you don't even, you know, for a long time, you know, you're craving the fast foods, you're craving the sugar and the salt, you know, the chips and stuff. But after so many weeks, it's like just the thought of that now, I don't even want it. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then one day at work, we had a topping off party, which is the job is so much, like it's getting really close to completion. So they'll have a big party. They'll do hamburgers and pop. And I hadn't drank pop in like months, like 6 months at least. And I used to drink just a regular Pepsi. And that day I was like, and I knew the diet Pepsi didn't have the calories in it. So I thought, well, I'm going to have a diet Pepsi with this hamburger. And even the hamburger tasted funny because I wasn't eating that kind of stuff. And I remember drinking that diet Pepsi and thinking, the first sip, I was like, it tastes so sugary.
Yeah.
Even though it was a diet Pepsi,
Right.
it tasted like, it tasted sugary. Yeah. So yeah, it's funny how our taste buds will even change.
Right. Does anyone have any questions? If anyone wants to unmute, you can come on and ask Christine any questions you might have.
I did like a lot of these. So I never heard anything about the questions before. That one's the question affirmations. I might be trying that. I went through something similar, went through like a nasty breakup, went to school got a diploma in the like paralegal. And then there was no work and recession and all that. But I found that I started keeping myself busy. And I started avoiding, like I didn't want to feel anything. I didn't want to deal with it. And then that came back to bite me. So like all of the stuff that I was trying, like wasn't really like all the affirmations and everything weren't really trying because it was just
And that's why they don't
not
work, because
dealing.
you don't
Yeah.
believe, you don't believe it. So your brain is working against itself, just like the guy lifting the weights. It's like, even though he could do it, his brain told him he couldn't, so he couldn't. That goes to Henry Ford. If you think you can't, you can't. And if you think you can, right?
Yeah.
So now that I'm like trying to focus more like on healing and dealing with it, that feels like it's like all connecting now.
Noah actually has, I didn't tell this part, but he has, it's like audio affirmations that he's done. And I will put them on and listen to them when I go to sleep at night. So they're pre-made for there's different groups. So one is business, one is like a personal, I can't remember what the other two are. Self-esteem. I don't think he calls it self-esteem, but that's what it is. And it's Noah St. John. And the book is Affirmations, Affformation, Affirmations. Yeah, so I'll put those, good question, by the way. I'll put those on at night. Like if my husband, he likes to fall asleep with the TV on, and I have attention deficit, so I want to watch the TV. So I found if I put the earbuds in and would listen to it, I could fall asleep listening to it. And it's a good way to, get things in your brain that's good as well.
Mary or Kim, you have any comments or questions? No?
I guess my thing is not so much negative self-talk. It's more shutting off the outside sources that make me doubt myself, which causes me more to get frustrated and angry about it. And then eventually, after being dug in, like you say, I'll just lose interest, and then I stop doing whatever it is, typically weight loss.
So with that, but see, that's still programming. Those voices are still programming because they don't believe in you. So then your brain's saying, they don't believe in me, I don't believe in me, and then you quit.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things you can do with that is, if it's possible, you can actually have a conversation with them. It's like, I really need your help to, I want to lose weight. I'm not sure if this is possible, but I want to lose weight. And I need you to be supportive. And then maybe put up the something positive that's gonna be like something you can believe. So I'm not sure. I'm thinking like I have them in my bedroom, right. And actually the affirmations would be great too. So why am I losing weight? Why do I feel so good? As long as you look at that and say, I can believe that. If you can't, and say, okay, why am I losing weight? If you say, okay, I read that and I think I'm not losing weight, like this is stupid, well, then change it to, why do I feel better? Because now maybe you're going to start eating healthier. I think it would really, really help you to do at least one or two, and just keep adding to that list if you can.
Yeah, I mean, like my husband, he's supportive, when I'm like committed to something. And, that's not really the issue. It's more internalizing, like, I can't even. I can't even describe what it's like. It's more of an like a I get upset and or angry about something totally irrelevant to my weight loss, and then I'll just be like, excuse me, screw it, and I just don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And
I do the same thing.
it's so
I do the same. I get frustrated, and my first go-to reaction is, I'm gonna go eat those cookies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then for me, if those cookies aren't there, I'd be like, okay, the cookies aren't here. And okay, I really want something. But then I start to realize, okay, this is not what I really want. I'm doing this because of this, you
Right.
know? And so that's going to take digging in, because this is where I came up with the, not feeling worthy and devaluing. And I started digging into that a little bit for myself. And I went, where did that even come from? And once I started to realize that belief I had of myself wasn't even true. So let me just go back. So when I was a little girl, my father was what they call a perfectionist. And, he would say things like, if you aren't going to do it right, then don't bother doing it at all. And when I vacuumed the floor, I remember, I don't know how many times, it could have been just the once, but this is how easy we get programmed as children. So I vacuumed the floor, and he came home and he looks and he little white thread. You know how hard it is to get the vacuum to suck up those little white threads? And he sees it and he's like, that's not good enough. There's that white thread there. And I had to re-vacuum the floors. So then my programming, whether he knew it or not, was I'm not good enough. And that's where I started to probably devalue. There could have been other things, I don't know, but that was the one thing I really stood out in my mind. And so I had to, when I looked at it, I went, that's where it came from. Is it true that I don't have value, that I'm not good enough? Because that was what it was. I didn't think I was ever good enough. Mm-hmm. And so then if you're not good enough and you can't be good enough, why bother trying? That's where the second part, came in. So then I realized, okay, this is where I'm coming from. That like, that's just, and it's just my dad was. It doesn't mean I'm good enough. He just wanted me to be as good as I could be. And maybe that was his way, like other men that knew him through work knew that he was like that. Like, because I was terrified actually to end up working with my dad. And I was lucky in a way, he retired the same year I started, because I was terrified that I would have to work with my dad. And anyways, but over the years, my dad passed away actually before I finished my electrical. He had cancer. And I actually wrote him a letter before he passed away saying, that I knew he would be watching me from the other side and that I would finish this and he didn't have to worry because I was going to do it. But yeah, that's where that came from. And, the silly thing about all of it was my dad always was proud of me too. So I'm not saying my dad was a bad person for that. It's just, that's how I ended up getting that into my head somehow, thinking I wasn't good enough and I wasn't valued. So basically, what, taking the layers and going back and go, oh, that's where that came from. Well, that's not even true. That's reprogram my brain. I do have value, like whatever I found, I was putting out there. I had people saying to me, I had a girl that I helped from the time she was a young girl, 11, 12 years old, who is now a nurse. And she said to me, all the things you said to me while I was growing up helped me overcome and become the person I am. So I knew I had value. You know, this was only a few years ago that I didn't even realize I was devaluing myself so much. 50 years old, like that's crazy, discovering that. But, you know, and then I can say, oh, but I did have value. So I knew that me thinking I didn't have value wasn't true. You know, why did I believe that I did have value? So I could reprogram myself. So sometimes it just takes that peeling back the layers. Where is it coming from? Is that even true? And then taking it from there and like I said, just reprogramming.
Yeah.
I hope that's helpful.
Yeah. Sounds like I need to do some soul searching. I can tell
We
you
all
exactly
do.
who triggers me, but you know, how to undo that is a whole nother
Yeah.
mission.
It does take work.
Yeah.
Anything worth doing takes work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Christine, for joining us this week. We're happy to have you. It was fun and I enjoyed our little chat here. And please
Well,
come back again. We'd love to have you.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
not
I
even-
really enjoyed it.
You're welcome. I'm not even done reading this book yet. So if you want, this might be a great place to start. What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. I'll put it back here.
And there you go.
So that might be a great place to start. And he goes through all the different self-talks, all the levels. And I'm